Hey, everybody. This is the redo. I just did the whole live stream by myself on the wrong thing. But welcome, 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 welcome. Glad to have you here. I'm glad to be live in the right place, on the right channel, at the right time with the intended topic. So I'm glad that this is working out. I'm a little bit later than I normally would be because this is a redo and it's okay. Live is live and I'm still getting better and I'm loving every minute of it. So, and I'm going to just jump right in and do this again. So tonight we're talking generative AI. We're starting a new series for the month. This whole month we're going to be talking about Gen AI and using it in various situations. And I want to start out with some basics today and get us set for the other videos, the other live streams that are coming later on in the future shows this month of August. Now, just so you know, this is not the first time that I have talked about AI. It won't be the last time that I talk about AI. And through tonight, I'll just share a little bit of my uses and why I'm passionate, the reason, and a little bit of my credibility, if you will. If you're new here, you're new watching the show, thank you for watching on the replay. Glad to have you checking in with us and checking us out and getting some content and some information that will help you be productive and help you remove friction in your systems. This channel is where you get strategies, processes, tactics, and approaches for reducing just that the friction in your productivity systems and getting to where you're organized so that you accomplish what's important, your important goals. Hey, I'm Florence, and I coach purpose driven leaders to reduce friction, and I do it through video, blogs, one on one sections, and webinars. Something new coming here in the next 2 or 3 weeks that I'll share with you. I've been teasing it a little bit, but I'll just say if you want more interaction to be with us, listen for some content that'll be coming out talking about using a private environment, a safe environment and privacy so that I can work with you and you can be with other people who want to get questions answered and get problems solved. So let's talk about generative AI technology. It is revolutionizing all kind of fields. One of those, of course, is creative fields in ways that we probably never thought about. We never thought that they were possible. But here's a question I'm going to pose to you tonight. And that question is, does this generative AI have the ability to be creative in the way that humans can be creative? Does this generative AI have the ability to be creative in the way that humans can be creative? I'm going to give you my answer in short. The short answer is no, it cannot. It is not designed, it is not human. Let me tell you why I am approaching this topic this way. Um, I work with AI every day. I work with helping large enterprises figure out how to solve some of their big problems using AI. I also happen to be certified in AI, which I have never talked about, but I have gone through a battery of trainings and certifications within the corporate environment that I work in. I work with our AI team every day and meet with them, and we meet with large enterprises to help them solve problems. So I typically day to day look at generative AI for what it can do in a large enterprise. Personally, on a personal level, I use it every day to help me be productive and get more done with less energy in every part of my life, in my corporate life, in content creation, in my personal life. I use it, I use tools every day. And many of my number one, what I call my information hub, Evernote, has AI capability built in specifically for search. So it's my own private um, search engine within Evernote. and I've been collecting data in there since 2008. So that many years of data and tens of thousands of notes, and I can find what I want. And it has gotten easier and more specific using the AI capability that's built into the tool. So I know a little bit about what I'm talking about. I say a little bit, but because I don't purport to be a guru for anything for anyone, I'm constantly learning. So the reason I say no is because these are computer systems that learn patterns of data from massive data sets of existing works. When we started all hearing about ChatGPT, we knew that it was trained on, meaning the data set that it used was the internet, what it could find that already existed. And it's true in many of the tools that we hear about. So these tools use this existing work and that knowledge to generate new content. Yet they're being used and they're being used to create artistic material from music to um, images to paintings to visual arts of all types to different words, presentations, digital art, paintings, a host, writing, especially writing. So it's being used to create all kinds of stuff from poetry to news articles to everything. With all of that creativity, there still has to be a human in the middle of the AI. And I'll explain a little bit later when I say human in the middle, that a human in the middle is still necessary. Now, let me say also later when I talk about some of the large language models and talk about sources, what you choose to use depends on a number of factors. It depends on what you need, it depends on your goals, it depends on your access, whether it's a professional, you're accessing the systems professionally, whether you're accessing the systems privately, what level of access you have, especially in the professional world, what level of access you have. It also depends on your budget. You know, we all have one, so it depends on your budget as well. What you choose to use, those are some of the factors, some of the key factors to think about. Let's get into some of this other content. The first thing I want to talk about is what is creativity? What is creativity? Now that we've gotten the introduction out of the way, let's talk about what this thing called creativity is. And in the human context, it's our ability to form mental images and concepts and ideas from everywhere. It's our ability to create something from nothing. Let me share with you, even though this is the second time I did it today. This video doesn't exist until I create it. I conceived it using abstract thinking. What did I want it to be? What did I want to share? What information did I want to give? How did I want to produce it? What sections and segments did I want to go through? I did that all out of my own brain. No AI came up and said, "Here's what you should do. Here's what you should do this video on," and or anything. Now, once I got to that point, so I was able to think back, look back, what have I already done? What do I have access to? What is my own lived experience? That's processing non-linear information. It comes at different ways and different times, right? That's something that processing nonlinear information is unique to humans. It is problem solving this way. It's unique to humans. Being able to empathize and use abstract thinking is unique to humans. Humans don't need to see a thing to imagine a thing. So that's the level of creativity that I want us to think about and be comfortable with or get comfortable with as we're saying, ah, can this machine be creative the same way I can be? And Florence said no, and why? Those are some of the reasons I say no, it can't. There are things that are unique to humans that have not been replicated. And so don't be concerned. Of course, we imagine things first and then we make them happen. The way this video is happening, I imagined it first, I conceived it first. Now I put the work in to produce it and make it happen. Now, the second thing is, what is generative AI? Generative AI is not a specific product. It is not some of the very specific, I'm not going to name them, but some of the very specific products that you've heard talked about. That is not generative AI in its true definition. Generative AI is artificial intelligence, meaning a computer is doing something that has the ability to create content that is powered by something called a large language model. It is using machine learning to learn the patterns and the relationships in those large data sets that humans have already created to generate this new content. So initially, it uses text input as its source. In other words, it has to exist already. Unlike a human, whatever we come up with doesn't have to exist already. With generative AI, for the AI tool or platform or large language model to create new content, content needs to exist already. So there's this other principle that I want you to think about. It's called the GPT. You've heard it. You hear Chat GPT, create a GPT. We keep using these um, abbreviations. Well, GPT is generative pre-trained transformer. I'm being a little geeky here, slightly geeky. But that is important because we need to know what each of those mean. Generative means it's the model can create new content. Pre-trained, we've talked about that. Pre-trained means that the model is trained on a large data set that of existing text. Then it's fine-tuned. Transformer means it's using a neural network that to process sequential data. So those are important. Pre-existing, trained on large data sets, huge data sets, huge data sets. And then it uses the technologies that have been built, these neural networks, to process that data. There's a second part of it, which you may not have thought about, especially if you're focused on using like the chat GPTs of the world. And that is something called conversational AI. And this is actually excites me more than just Gen AI, but it is a branch of AI that enables the computer to understand, to process, and to respond using human language in a natural way. So it responds and you think it's thinking and that it understands you. And there's a bit of that. There's programming that's done and that's called human sentiment and other tools that are built into these models, these tools and these applications that allow the conversation to be more natural to the human. There's a conversation, a response back and forth. And so that is the conversational AI. Well, how is this used? Well, generative AI, we said, is used to create new content. It's used to create images, music, text, and a host of other things, right? Conversational AI, two of its main uses is chatbots I would submit everybody knows what a chatbot is if you've looked at a computer in the last year and a half. Chatbots. The other another large use of it is called a virtual agent. And that is where it's really a phone call. At the end of the day, it's a phone call. And the chatbot, if you will, is responding, and what you hear is a human-like voice. Sounds very human. It doesn't sound robotic. It's a human-like voice that has all of these advanced features in it to respond. Here's what you need to here's another level of understanding in this idea of generative AI and conversational AI. Creating the new content and responding as a chatbot or virtual agent, someone has built a back end or programmed what happens when the person enters certain information, whether it's it's entered in spoken language or it's written in a chat box like ChatGPT and Gemini and so forth. Someone has programmed the machine, the computer, to respond based on branches and flows. So even though it's generating new, there's still been humans doing something in the back end to make it work. Now, this is the next thing we're going to talk about is we talked about conversational AI is what are these large language models, and we actually know what they are. We've probably heard of them, but I want to run through them, and I want to say the information I'm sharing is not sponsored. I put the list together myself. I did it for my own use. I'm simply sharing it with you. And I also, no surprise, as I made the list and wanted to move between these systems quickly, I made a Stream Deck button to be able to switch between sites real quick without having to think about it, type anything or that. So the first one we want to talk about is OpenAI. And this one, or ChatGPT from OpenAI. ChatGPT from OpenAI. And the link, the URL is right here on the screen, openai.com. That's how you get to it if you've never gone to ChatGPT. There's also a mobile version, but I'm not talking about that today. I'm just talking about if you just go straight to the URL. Hey, Ananea, so glad you found me here. I'll reiterate what I did. I did something silly. Silly. The second uh, large language model that I'm going to mention is Copilot from Microsoft. Now, this one is unique in that Microsoft has built the Copilot large language model into its Microsoft 365 program. So if you're in a shop that runs Microsoft and you have access to Copilot, you'll see it in email, you'll see it in PowerPoint, you'll see it in Word, you'll see it in Teams, you'll see it on your phone in applications, and you'll just see it by itself. Be able to access it in your browser. So Copilot is unique in that it is built into the applications that's Microsoft is using. And I'm giving an example, a couple of examples of how I've used it recently. The next one is Claude from Anthropic. You may have heard about it, but you may not have known how to get to it. And you so I put it together again. I made this list and put it in Evernote where I keep most of my list and things. I also made Stream Deck buttons so I could move very quickly between these. So Claude is a third one that is readily available. All of these, let me make sure I say this accurately. 4 of them I can say for sure are you have a free version of them that you can use. One, I believe, and that's the Copilot. You actually need to actually use it, you must have a subscription. The next one is Gemini from Google. I think I'm gonna hit the right button here. Yeah, Gemini from Google. It's another one. Hey, Ibrahim. Again, to get to it, it's gemini.google.com. How you get to it? Why is Florence sharing this level of little minutia detail? I want one of my premises is remove friction in your systems. And if you don't have a ready-made list that you can immediately go to, that puts friction in your system. And so having this list handy, and then whether you put it in a Word doc or a text file or save them in your browser or put it in text expander or be a Florence and put it on a Stream Deck, you have easy, quick, immediate access to them. That's the whole reason I'm going through it. And if you have not um, used some of these, you know exactly how to get to them. That's the reason I'm doing that, because I want to serve you well. The last one, which is also has a uniqueness about it, it's Llama from Meta, llama.meta.com. So those are the large language models that I wanted to share with you all this evening and how to get to them. The unique thing about Llama is all of the others, you must create an account. You must give up an email address. You must log into it to use them. Llama, you don't have to do that. You just go to the site and you can type your prompt in and get the information that you want. All of them except Copilot. And check me, and if you find that I'm inaccurate, but I believe I'm accurate, all of them except Copilot have a free version. So to get started, if you're not using any of them, just try. Think of a workflow or something that you want to do and try using it a little bit. Now, be careful. This is my admonition. Be careful what you put in. Don't put in super personal information like, you know, your social security number, your driver's license number, something really serious. Please don't do that because it's in there and you cannot get it out. Okay. But general things, how to do stuff, list of things, changing information. And here's where I'm going to give an example. But before I get into my example, I want to say hi to some of my wonderful peeps who are out there with me this evening. And I haven't fixed that. So I'm going to say hello to the wonderful Mr. Philip. Glad to have you're not late. I gotta tell y'all my story. I did the whole live stream at 6:30 on private. So this is round two. I literally did not change it. So you're not late. It's just it was me. And hello, one of my M3 live tribers, Ibrahim. So glad to have you in the building with us this evening. And moderator salute to Inanea. Miss Inanea, I need to reach out to you. I feel like something got in my mouth. Um, because I I want to ask you if you would be open to being a moderator on the channel. And I didn't want to do it until we have some communication about it and see if it's something that you would be interested in doing. And if you are, great. And if you're not, it's okay. But, I adore you. Well, Philip, great that you'll try Llama. Yeah, you don't have to. One of the things I like about it is you don't have to give up any information to use it. So you're not, just go use it. Yeah. I laugh at myself because I do silly stuff like that. And it's funny to me. So it's okay. Just have a good time with it. Just have a good time with it. So let me how come that did not go away? I have no idea why that didn't go away. There you go. Um, let's see. Where am I? We went through the language models. So now I want to talk about what are some sources to find AI tools, because you may have a situation or a circumstance or a need where you want to perform a particular type of work in your environment. I'm going to use ministry. Maybe you're working in ministry and you need to create a class or a Bible study or just refine your thinking on something. Well, you've got to do the real work. You've got to, read your Bible. You've got to do that work. You've got to sit with it. You've got to do all of that. But once you do, maybe you just want to find some illustrations that are applicable. You can use it to do that research. That's just one example. Maybe you write, but you also want to take and say, what I've written, I want to refine it a little bit. That's another use case. My use case, however, were a couple of things. One that I used was I had a presentation I needed to create, and I got asked one day to do a presentation on AI of all things the very next day. So I brainstormed, I came up with the ideas, and after I did the brainstorming, I wrote a prompt. And by the way, a prompt is simply a question with some context. It is not for us, we're not programming the back end of these tools. We're simply trying to get information out or generate something. So a prompt, think of it as a real well written question that is specific and it has context so that the model can figure out those word patterns or image patterns to use. That just keep it very simple and straightforward for yourself. How to do this or create that. Give me a list. Refine this language. Over this next few weeks, I'm going to talk about very specific use cases, and every use case is something that I'm doing or have done. I'm not talking about something I read. I'm going to talk about what I personally have experience with so that it's just coming from Florence and all her extraness, as I say. So here was my case. Got asked to do a presentation, had one day to put it together, was presenting to a bunch of executives. I had Copilot. I had access to Microsoft Copilot. So that's what I was going to use. I was using the large language model, Microsoft Copilot. So step one, I just brainstormed. I literally, as y'all know, grabbed a piece of paper and started getting ideas out of my head. I've got to put this presentation together. What do I want to cover? Once I put that together, I put it in a text file. I had Copilot take the content, I wrote a prompt for Copilot to take the content of that text file and generate a Word document that wrote an outline, just a plain old everyday outline that we learned to do when we were in high school, probably middle school. So that was the first prompt with Copilot that I used to generate this presentation. I took that outline that it generated, did edits on it, added, removed, reworded, worked it out so that it would sound and be like something I would actually say and present out of my own mouth. So that was the second use of Copilot. Now I had this outline in Word. I then used Copilot and said, take this outline. And I literally just wrote, create a PowerPoint presentation from the content in this Word document. That was my prompt. Like, that was a prompt. Nothing more, because it had the context, right? So Copilot then created a PowerPoint slide deck, broke down the key points according to the outline, put the subpoints on the outline on the slides according to the outline. So now I had my slides built. They weren't pretty, but they were basically built, and I didn't have to sit there and enter information manually into PowerPoint. Once I had that, I then wrote a prompt inside of PowerPoint to create images to represent the data that I had on each slide. And it did. Some of the images I liked, some of the images I didn't like. I kept the ones I liked, I replaced the ones I didn't like. I took all of that. So, soup to nut from ideation, I got to throw some stuff down and figure out what I'm going to talk about, to the actual presentation, being ready for me to hand it off to a junior person on my team and say, now I want you to pop, I don't need you to change any words. I don't need you to change the order of the slides. I just now need you to polish it so that it is ready for me to present to the executives. I did all of that and had that presentation ready using Copilot in about 45 minutes. From getting asked to do the presentation, to ideating on what I was going to cover, to having a presentation baked and ready to go to get it polished. 45 minutes. Without Copilot, here's the beauty of doing this creativity this way. Without Copilot, I probably would have been up all night because I would have written out the outline, tweaked it. Then I would have been making the slides one by one. Then I would have been searching for images to put in the slides. And then I would have handed it off. Well, I didn't have that much time available because I was giving the presentation the next day. That's an example of how you can use any of these large language models to help you reduce the amount of time that you're taking and still have it be your material and have it you human in the middle of the AI on our side, not on the back end, on our side, to be creative and to use our imagination paired with the, excuse me, I didn't mean to do that, paired with the computer generated content, and it still be real because it's based on you. So if you have a question, please put a Q colon and ask a question. And hello, Yolanda, so glad to have you. I'm going to go back and watch your video that you dropped earlier this evening because I've been following your series. I'm actually going to understand football by the time you finish with me. I'm actually maybe going to understand it because that is a confusing game to my brain. So, questions, comments, if you have a way that you've used any of these models, whether it was Copilot, whether it was ChatGPT, Llama, Gemini, Claude, any of them, to do something creative with it, let me know. Let me know. So, I did say tools that we were going to use. So, two places where I look for tools, and I have a number that I use, is a website, futuretools.io. I am not sponsored by them. I'm not an affiliate with them. It's just a site that I go to. There are over 2,000 AI tools that are on that futuretools.io site. They are free ones to paid ones to GitHub ones to freemium ones and everything. Almost every category of what you would want to use: productivity, video editing, writing, and a whole bunch more. So if you've never gone to futuretools.io, it's a good place to start looking. If you have a specific use case or situation or workflow that you're looking to use AI for in your day to day. The second place I use is AppSumo and appsumo.com. So I am an affiliate with AppSumo. I will have a link in the description. You don't have to use it. AppSumo is a place where you can get lifetime deals on software, at and those lifetime deals are at very, very, very highly reduced rates. So I've gotten a couple of tools that I use from AppSumo. I don't buy every one that comes across the screen or in my inbox, and I don't think I need all of them. It's too many. But being judicious and think about what you need first, what your goals are first. Don't just go buy something because somebody said it's a great thing. I've spent 21 days doing content using a tool called Capshow. What I got out of it is a different way of thinking about content. That was a huge lesson for me, especially because you keep hearing about repurposing, repurposing, repurposing. I learned clearly how to think about repurposing differently. So that was a benefit of doing this trial and doing this challenge. Am I going to buy Capshow? Probably not at this point. Number one, I'm not producing enough videos. I'm not putting out a new video every day to make the return on the investment for me. But what it did do was give me the tool I need to think about how to repurpose, which I can do very quickly using these other tools myself because I know what I'm doing. Um, so look for tools that you may want to use. Be judicious again, your need, your goals, your access, and your budget. Those are four considerations that you want to think about. Um, Hello, Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the show. Glad to have you. Um, let's see. Let me put this on the screen because I want everyone to see it. Um, okay, my mouse doesn't want to work now. Get over there. Okay. He says, I create case study video interviews for clients. I use ChatGPT to take the transcripts and write online magazines. I'm thinking you're seeing magazine articles based on the content of the interviews. I used to hire a journal. I don't know what a journal is, so educate me to do this work. Yes, absolutely. That's a great use case. Is to have video interviews that are already done. And again, yeah, take the transcript and write a prompt to write magazine articles, blog posts, queries, and other types of examples that that make sense. And I'm having a moment here. That makes sense. Journalists. Okay, you used to hire journalists to do this work. Okay, great. Got it. Thank you. Yeah. And what does it do? Quicker, less people involved in what you're producing, and you can customize it for yourself. That's awesome. That's a great use case. So if anyone else has a use case that you use, please share it. But I wanted to get the basics out today and have that set the foundation of these future shows and topics that we're going to cover. Next week, I'm going to be talking about using AI to build relationships. And that's doing things like just being and I'm going to share some of the things that I do. I'll give you a little preview. Things like refining thank you notes and inquiries to people and congratulatory notes from when colleagues and friends achieve goals, and just filling it out and making it a little bit more um, rich in the language that I'm using, and some of that image generation to go along with it. So I've been using it that way. I'll talk about a few of those use cases next week, and hopefully you'll get something out of it, and maybe it'll spark an idea for you to use. I'm so glad you all were here today, and if you have a question, I would love to answer it. Okay, Mr. Robinson he's bringing some good stuff. One transcript can be turned into a 400-word article using Chat GPT in under 2 minutes. Yep, yep. So, you bring up what I was a reminder of what I was talking about with me going through this 21-day challenge. One video transcript, turn it into a blog article, turn it into a LinkedIn article, turn it into a YouTube community post, turn it into Facebook post, turn it into Instagram post, turn it into email content to go out to my email subscribers, so that one transcript from that one video can be used in a number of ways. Also, taking that transcript and asking some provoking questions to get your community, your audience to think about, especially when you're in the education area, to think about how do I use this? How do I use the information and raise their awareness and give them good tips on things that they can do just from one video, but starting with the video. And you can do the same thing with the audio transcript, Ken. Mr. Robinson, you can use the audio transcript and do the same kind of thing. It doesn't all have to be video, right? So those are actually really good use cases. So, anything else? I'm going to just check real quick here and see if there's anything else. All right, I don't see anything else. Well, thank you all for round 2 today. I cracked myself up, did a whole live stream by myself, and then had to start over. So here you go. It's all good though. It is all good. I am not upset about any of it. And I thank you all for your time. I don't take it for granted because you didn't have to give it up. We all have 1,440 minutes a day. How we use every minute is important. So use them wisely. I'm going to encourage you to watch a video over here and come back and visit me again. And I'll see you in the next live stream. Have a great weekend, everybody.